everybody, welcome back to Connect. I am your host, Andy Hale. I've got back probably my favorite guest, Monica Burkoth, award-winning trial lawyer, founder of Confidence Counsel, crushing it on LinkedIn. I've been so inspired and motivated by what you're doing. I've told you this several times, Monica. You are walking the walk in terms of posting, creating, sharing your message with everybody. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I love what you're doing.
Well, today I wanted to have you on here because there's a topic we're going to talk about being audacious. And I thought, who can I talk to about this that will get it and that will be able to talk about this with me? And so I reached out to you on short notice. You're here. I love how you just make it happen. I want to start off. I've talked about this book, Abundant Ever After by Kathy Heller. I've just been obsessed with this book. I want to read a passage from page 24, and then we'll talk about it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what she says here is, here's what she says. So again, the answer to the questions, how do I make more money? How do I manifest wealth? How do I move the needle? Is to plug in to your own power source that is connected to the symphony of the universe, and then broadcast it outwardly, and not quietly, but, and she has this in all caps, but big, bold, loud, and bright. When you start to create abundance that originates within you, guess what happens next? You become a magnet for receiving more synchronicities and opportunities, and you create a wave of abundance for others, because when one part of the ecosystem thrives, it ripples outward. I got goosebumps even reading that. Because does that make sense to you?
Oh, that resonates so truthfully for me, yes.
Because what I've noticed is I've been really putting out a lot more content lately. I've been doing 2 podcasts every week. I just released my first Hungry for Justice short little video on my YouTube page. Have I told you about that whole idea?
No,
right,
I need to know everything.
We'll talk about that. I've been working on a short little documentary film. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I'm doing all the things I've been talking about doing. And because I'm doing that, and because it's so aligned with what I've wanted to do, I feel like I've never felt before. I am so tapped in and aligned that my day-to-day vibe, if you want to call it, or energy, is just, poof. I'm just like, I can feel it. I'm just like a space heater, like radiating. And it's such a game changer. And I've been trying to encourage people, when you're doing the thing you like, because I wanted to ask you about this, because you've been posting on LinkedIn so frequently, you've been crushing on LinkedIn, putting out this thoughtful, incredible content. Have you noticed a change to your vibe or energy?
Yes. Personally, I feel extremely magnetic, and I think that, so personally, yes, but I feel like every time I have a conversation with you, Andy, or I get in a zone where I'm in a conversation about this kind of stuff, opportunities flood in. Right when I X out of this, I'll have some opportunity pop up. It is, have you heard of the vortex? The vortex, when you're, in alignment and when your frequency is very high, you attract the things that are in your vortex. I feel like every time I'm putting my content out there and putting my uniqueness and authenticity out there, I'm vibrating so high that I'm touching the vortex, and opportunities are just flowing through, or synchronicities, or people will reach out to me and say, I was thinking about you, or somebody that I had thought of, just something. I guarantee it. And I'm gonna have to circle back with you on how it manifests, but something like that will happen to me today, just because I'm in the zone with you, talking about stuff that lights me up.
Right.
I feel my whole body tingling.
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. So actually today, there's a new Connect podcast out where I talked about 2 of my colleagues that Allison West and Kelly.
I just listened to it. Yeah.
So they formed this group called Themis. It is a female trial attorney practice group looking to represent women. And we talked a little bit now, some of their cases deal with, sexual harassment. Women have been the victims of sexual harassment. It's the perfect thing for a person like that, a client, is going to vibe and connect so much better with a female lawyer. Okay. So we recorded that episode. I literally ended the recording. I got on my phone. I went to Twitter. I still call it Twitter, by the way. And normally when I go there, I'm doing a specific search for something. But this time I just kind of decided to open up and just like my feed and just look. The first post I saw was by this woman, Gretchen Carlson. I don't follow her. Do you know who Gretchen Carlson is?
It sounds kind of familiar.
Gretchen Carlson, she was a former Fox News host. Yeah. She was actually, if you want to go back, she was, I think, Miss America from Minnesota. She was a Fox News host. And what made the news, I think this was about 5 years ago, she brought a sexual harassment case against Roger Ailes, who was the CEO of Fox News. It was a bombshell lawsuit. I think he wound up paying her like $20 million. It was huge news. She now has been a big advocate for ending sexual harassment in the workplace. Like, this is so aligned with what Themis is doing, right? Mm-hmm. So I see a post from her, and I think she was traveling with her sister, like in Southeast Asia. I thought, wow, Gretchen Carlson. I knew, that story about the Roger Ailes sexual harassment lawsuit. I thought, you know what? I go to her website, GretchenCarlson.com. There's like a link to, send a message. It's just like a form. I fill out this form, think, hey, I'm Andy Hale. I've got this amazing group of female trial lawyers. This is the kind of work they're doing. It's so compatible with your mission. We'd love to do like coffee and a Zoom. And I just threw it out there, right? 2 days later, she emails me back. She's like, I'm in Southeast Asia. I'm traveling, but I'd love to connect with you and your Themis group. We had a Zoom call yesterday.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. We had a Zoom call yesterday with her and her partner who started, the organization is called Lift Our Voices. We're on a Zoom for like half hour with all our Themis lawyers, talking to Gretchen Carlson, talking about collaborating on some stuff, connecting with her. She talked about the work she's doing. A lot of her work is trying to eliminate NDAs in the workspace. So many victims sign these NDAs. And we made this incredible connection. My point of that whole story is it's two things. One, you think it's a coincidence that I get off that Zoom with Kelly and Allison, I go to Twitter, and the first frickin' post I see is Gretchen Carlson, who I don't follow. There was no... And then I reach out to her. She's traveling. She's in Southeast Asia. And I sent her an email.
Checking the form on that website.
Exactly. Yeah. And she emails me back right away and says, send me some dates in early March. Are you kidding me? So my point is, the universe lined that up. That opportunity came my way. I saw that tweet, but I knew there was a connection and a sign there like, oh, wait a minute. Why am I seeing this? I had the ability to pause and not keep scrolling, recognize that opportunity, reach out with love, passion, and excitement, and send it with that kind of energy, and then get the response back and do that. So I created that whole opportunity, and this is the kind of stuff that happens to me all the time that everybody can do. Mm-hmm. Everybody can create these opportunities. They're there right now. They're floating in this room right now. They're all around me. They're like buzzing like bees. You just have to recognize them and then act on them.
Because Andy, if you had, let's say you didn't have that interview with Kelly and Allie in the morning, and instead you overslept, you spilled coffee on your shirt, and you're like you sat in traffic, you would have opened Twitter and rolled right past that. It would have meant nothing to you. Your eyes would not even register it. Yeah. But because you were in the high frequency, it's still it's there for all of us. Yeah. The abundance is there. The opportunity is there. It's whether you see it or not. And the way you see it is to vibrate on a higher frequency and just making it priority to feel good every day. Have high vibe conversations, right?
That's been the game changer for me that I've been trying to preach is, I've done in the past affirmations, visualizations. Those are all important things, meditation. But what has clicked now, which I totally get, is connecting with the universe and feeling and understanding you are part of the universe. Understanding that feeling of who you are. And when you are doing the things you want to do, when you're feeling good about what you're doing, or even if you're not doing those things yet, start feeling like you are. And when you start feeling good about the things you're doing in your life, the path you're on, the vision you see, you have an energy And it's amazing. You know, it's just incredible. You ever feel that way?
100% every day.
I'm going to tell you one more story. I'm going to save this to the second part. This is the part I wanted to ask you about primarily on this podcast. So I'm going to go to her book. Now I'm going to go to page 48, and she's got a little heading here. Be audacious. And she says, I want you to be audacious. I want you to have the audacity to allow yourself to let in all the things you really want. Have the audacity. Stop making yourself wrong for wanting to allow yourself to receive more. And then she says, very often when I'm working with someone, I'll say, what do you want? It's unbelievable. People can't even say what they want. What is that about? It's such a turn on when you start to be brazen. Okay, so what I put right here, I wrote it down here. In my book, I'm going to show you this little note I wrote. What I wrote here, it says, an Oscar. There it is. I said it. 2/17/25. Okay, let me tell you what that means. I have a client, I probably told you about this, Chester Weger. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to prove his innocence for 7 years, going on 8. He got convicted of something called the Starved Rock murders in 1960, spent over 60 years in prison. Okay, so I've been working on this case, and I think I'm getting close. I've been filming interactions him and I have, going to his house for his birthday party, bringing over Christmas presents, spending time with his family. And I thought, I think I'll put this, I'll do a little short video. And this is where Chip, my podcast producer, is going to help me with this. Maybe I'll, put it on YouTube or my website. And I read this book. I read this book about Be Audacious. I said, no, I'm not playing small. I want to create a short documentary film that will win an Academy Award. That's my goal. I put it out there. I've told that to the people I'm working with, Chip, my son Hayden, who's helped me film it. I'm like, guys, I've already done the research. It's got to be under 40 minutes. Here's how it qualifies. These are the film festivals that qualify. We have the content. The content's strong. It's about potentially the longest wrongful conviction in U.S. history. So why am I going to think small? Oh, I'll make a YouTube video. No. I'm going to go fucking big. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go audacious. And I feel this. I want to win an Academy Award. And I'm putting that out there.
I feel it coming off of you. Yep.
Yes. And the key is to feel it. And I feel this. And so I'll give you one more, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Okay. I've also, on this same topic, Chester Weger, I want to do a scripted version, which means, like a version of his story with actors. Okay. I just released, I'm going to send this to you. You got to go to my TikTok page. I made a TikTok video, and I had these old crime photos of Chester Weger. He looks like James Dean, by the way. These old 1960 photos of him in court, coming out of court after he got arrested. And I did a video, and this is what I said. I talked about Kathy's book, and I said, she talks about being audacious. I want to do a scripted version, and Timothy Chalamet, I'm talking to you. I said, you should have gotten an Oscar for A Complete Unknown. Here is your Oscar-winning role, playing Chester Weger. I said, you will knock it out of the park, Timothy Chalamet. I said, I don't know how we're going to connect. I'm going to leave that to the universe, but I'm putting that out there. Timothy Chalamet, you play Chester Weger in this documentary, this scripted version. You will win an Oscar, and you will tell his story. And I have released that. Now on my TikToks, my whole feed is Timothy Chalamet. I'm constantly getting Timothy Chalamet videos. And again, I'm not worried about the how. You know how this works.
Yep.
The how is out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
The universe will take care of the how. So my 2 audacious goals that I have released to the universe are, I want to do a short documentary about Chester Weger, win an Academy Award for the category short documentary, and I want to do a scripted version where Timothy Chalamet plays Chester Weger. And I feel those things, and I have released them. So now I'm turning it over to you, and I want you to think this way because I know you already have goals and aspirations, but I got a feeling you can level it up. I want to hear kind of what you had been thinking, and I want you to see if you can actually level it up. So the floor is yours. Call your next witness.
Okay, so originally And you're so right. Like the sky is the limit, right? And what they say is the universe, you can manifest a button the same way you can manifest a castle. There's no extra energy or work that needs to be done. It's just getting in alignment and the feeling, right? And so why not make it huge? And so originally I was like, okay, I want to create this community of women that are, lawyers that are focused on, that want to prioritize mindset and personal development to like up their game in law. And then I thought, okay, well, I could do that probably right now, right? I am starting to do that. But if we're going to up it a notch, so I'm obsessed with Mel Robbins. So I want to be like the next Mel Robbins.
I get a lot of her stuff at my feed too.
Oh, I just adore her. Yeah. She's a former lawyer. She's direct. She's authentic. She's cool. She's relatable. And she just has these interesting conversations with all these different kinds of specialists and thought leaders about things that we are interested in, positive psychology and mindset and manifestation and things like that. That would be a dream for me. The other dream that I have is to have a New York Times bestseller, maybe multiple.
Now we're talking.
Like multiple, like a series even. I want what I have in my head, and I don't know if I don't think this exists, but I wanted to do something called Universal Law School, where it's something like applying the universal laws to law to create like this new personal development text that is taught in law schools, that every attorney has on their desk, that is something that's just like a staple for everybody that is pursuing law. And I don't think anybody has ever done anything like that. So I could be filling a market. I feel like I'm the perfect person for it. And then I would do my book tour. I'd be picked up by Penguin or Simon and Schuster and get, all these royalties and retire my husband, and we can homestead and homeschool and just live out the dream.
I absolutely love it. And this is step one right here on this podcast, because now today you're publicly releasing this to the universe. Because when I thought about this,
I feel like naked and exposed a little,
Yeah, well, that's why you're doing the right thing. When I read this part about being audacious, and I thought, it really hit me. Okay, so I had these kind of modest goals, and I thought, wait a minute, why? I mean, if I'm going to do this, and if I have the power to do it, and if I feel good about it, and it's something that I want, let's go big. Let's go big. And I feel so excited about both those things I talked about. And winning that Academy Award, the documentary short category, I'm like, why can't I not win this? I've got a topic that's super serious, like the longest wrongful conviction in U.S. history. I've got an emotional, incredibly touching, heartfelt, tragic, sad story. Let's tell this in the biggest, most powerful way, right? And so the concept of really elevating your game and going for the things you truly, truly want, don't hold back. And the things you talked about, Universal Law School, that is a great one. And I think for you, and you talked about Mel Robbins, I would encourage you to start with TikTok and start. I know you're big on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn, it's good to be on every platform. I think TikTok's where you're going to really explode, because it's so easy to share and for things just to be, to get shared, and then even just TikTok sharing your content with people. Because I get now, because of the videos I watch, and I like a lot of things, my feed's either manifestation, food, music, those three things. Timothy Chalamet now. I get a lot of TikTok videos from people who are, they're modest in terms of their size. It's not everybody that's got like 1 million followers. I've got some people that are 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, but they've got really strong content, and it's interesting. And you've got so much to talk about. You could do a video every day on TikTok. You'd have something to say every day, because a lot of them are simple. It's like, hey, clear your mind, get quiet. I mean, you could easily do one a day, and I'm telling you, your TikTok will explode. This should be a big thing that you really focus on.
I posted a TikTok today, which is funny because I haven't in a long time. Yeah,
I saw it.
Yeah,
and I think I saw today you had 37 TikTok followers.
Yes.
Okay. And I want to point that out there because
a third of them are my family members.
okay.
So.
Okay. That's where we all start. You start on day one. You have like when you start, it's like, yeah, it's you, your husband, your two friends. You'd be amazed at how this can grow. If you put out those TikTok videos with love and passion and excitement, when you just share something that's interesting to you, don't even check for initially to see how many likes it got, how many views it got, whatever. Just put it out there. Put it out there. I remember when I started my YouTube page, Chip, my podcast producer, Chip, like I told you, his girlfriend, Dawn, helps me with social media. She's like, yeah, we got your YouTube page up. It's got like 48 followers. I was like, oh God, it just sounds depressing. 48 followers. I said, let's get back to me when I got 500, because I think when you get to 1,000, you can actually start monetizing. Mm-hmm. Well, just last week, she's like, Andy, you got 512 now. I'm like, okay. So, we're moving in the right direction, but I don't worry about it. I don't care. In line with my other great book, Rick Rubin, The Creative Act, he's like, don't worry about the audience. Put out what you love. So I want to really encourage you, Monica. Do on TikTok what you've done on LinkedIn.
But I feel like it doesn't, because I have a lot of like story and it's just static.
It's different.
Code.
No, it's different.
I'd have to say them. Like, right? I'd have to just get in front of the camera and say these stories.
Yeah, TikTok's going to be shorter. Your LinkedIn's are great because they're very long and thoughtful, which is the good format for LinkedIn. TikTok can be, under a minute. It can be something like, hey guys, when you're radiating and you connect, that vibration is contagious. People will feel it. People will notice your energy. So elevate your radiation. Boom. That's today's video. I mean, you could record 20 of these, sit down right now and record 20 of these in an hour. And then you got them just ready to post. I'm telling you, because I've seen a lot of people on TikTok talking about this, that, you are, I think, more knowledgeable, more authentic, and more passionate. And you got a lot more to talk about. And you've got this whole interesting law practice. So I want to have you back on here.
I know we have to mark the date. It's March 11th, 2025. How long are we? Well, they say don't put dates on your manifestations. I guess it'll come in divine timing, but
put it, I'm telling you, you've got so much to talk about. And I actually think, your LinkedIn's more businessy. So I think that's more your vibe with lawyers who are seeking counsel, confidence, things like that, vibrations. But TikTok is your audience, Monica. You're starting with lawyers because you're a lawyer, but the people that are interested in your content are everybody. Okay. So TikTok is all ages, all genders, all over the world. And you need to put it out there. I'm telling you, start today.
What's interesting is LinkedIn used to be like the scary platform for me, but now you're right. I feel like I've settled in and it's kind of like my safe space. It's like my professional mask. But what I haven't tapped into on LinkedIn is like the manifestation. Yeah. Like I love talking about manifestation. And I feel like I haven't quite been able to do that over on LinkedIn just yet, because the few times I said, you could be, you don't have to work hard. You could just be it. People have gone nuts in the comments like, no, you have to work hard, arguing for their limitations. I'm like, oh, and then I get a little frazzled. I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't the right audience for that.
It's not. And it's not. What you just said, I'm going to read another part of the book. This, I'm telling you, this book is amazing. This is the introduction. It's page 2. She says, we are so married, so committed to the illusion and to the idea that the way life works is for it all to be hard. In truth, it is meant to flow and feel like ease. It is meant to come to you as synchronicity. It's meant to show up as a blessing. Everything you desire is already here. Hidden in plain sight, it is already done. None of it happens through hard work. None of it. And I believe that the people that say, no, you got to work hard, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. I think you will wind up working hard because you love what you do. You'll be putting in longer hours.
But it doesn't feel hard then,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's not supposed to feel hard. If you're feeling like it's a struggle and it's a chore, you are not aligned. Okay. You're not on the right path. So you're absolutely right. But to go back to LinkedIn to me it's more business related, and you got more grinders on there than dreamers. Okay. And
Yes, the amount of
I,
posts that are like,
yeah,
people ask how I've won so many trials. It's this, me working on the weekend. It's like a guy in an empty office. It's like, no,
yeah, you know what it
that's not
is?
the
You
vibe.
know what you know what mine would be? A cup of coffee, my legs up on the desk with a notepad, and just thinking, what's a good point for cross for this guy? And I'm doing it out of like curiosity and imagination. Like, what would be a really good cross question? You know, like not like, oh, my God, I got all these papers out here and I'm overwhelmed, you know? And so to go back to what I was going to say, though, was your LinkedIn posts are great because they're tailored for the LinkedIn audience, the way you're doing them. So that's fine. But your main message, Monica Burkoth, the main authentic you is the spiritual manifestation, alignment, vibration person. And that TikTok is your sweet spot. That's where the magic's going to happen. I would get on this today.
So tell me, Andy, do you think that the TikTok should be focused to lawyers
No,
or no?
no. It should just be talking about all the things that resonate with you about manifestation, meditation, spirituality, vibration, all those things. That's your topic. It'll come up at times that you're a lawyer. I'm sure you'll have posts about, hey, I was walking into court and I was able to quiet my mind and get focused and I was able to visualize. But I think it should be the general topic of manifestation, etc. And I mean, you got to be you. I'm just telling you, this is my impression of you. I don't think it should just be lawyers because I think down the road, I hate to say this, I don't think you're going to be a lawyer down the road. I think when all this explodes and when you finally are comfortable putting it all out there, you're not going to have time for law. You're good at what you do. You're great at what you do. And I think you're going to miss it to a certain extent, but you're going to realize you're on a bigger path. And maybe you'll just be like a consultant. Maybe you'll be, an occasional something.
That was one of my smaller goals before you told me your Oscar goal. It was like maybe be some sort of a consultant for like trial firms, like right before they have a huge case to like work with them on the mindset stuff. And then I'm like, nah, not big enough. That would be like,
No.
I could do that now.
Yeah. And like I said, what kind of hit me was, and here's something funny too. I had a session recently with Jessica Rachel, our spiritual medium I've had on here. And I had this amazing session. If you go back to my Connects a couple episodes ago, I posted a video about how Jessica brought up the Themis podcast, not even knowing anything about it. Like, that's a whole crazy one. She's like, wait a minute, is there another podcast that you got like with some women at work? I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah, these women were thinking about doing a podcast. I never talked about her with her. Anyway, so what my spirit guide was saying was, he's like, Andy, you need to come out of the spiritual closet a little more. And so I think it's a matter of just talking about it more. And TikTok is the perfect way. So when I saw some of these people on TikTok who had pretty big audiences, 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, I saw some with like, hundreds of thousands of followers. They were saying a lot of the same things you and I already talk about. So it's not things I haven't heard. It's things I agree with and things that are powerful to me and things that are meaningful to me. But you have this content in your brain. You're not going to have to do any research to come up with what to talk about. You could get a notepad right now. You could speed write in your journal, Spirit Guide, what should my TikTok video be about today? And then write for like 2 minutes straight. You'll probably write 20 topics that you could release right now. So there you go. There's 3 weeks of content. Boom, done. Okay, in an hour. And that's where you're really going to grow and people are going to see you. And then that's going to elevate all your platforms.
I love this. And, I think the magic with TikTok is it does still feel a little anonymous. Like I don't like all my closest friends, they're not all following me there. So there's a bit of like, I could just kind of let loose, and just that short form content. There's not much like revision and perfectionism that can fit into that. Like with the LinkedIn post, I find myself kind of tweaking and it loses the aligned flow that is what is so magnetic, right?
You know what's great about TikTok it's authenticity. Somebody like some of the manifestation people I saw, they're just sitting in their car.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there's nothing.
Because they're like embarrassed.
There's nothing professional. Like it's not like some super duper fancy studio or anything. It's just they're talking and they're talking authentically. And if you flub up a word, you just keep going. You don't repost. Just go with it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. And I'm amazed at how many people I talk about with TikTok, and I'll say, "Do you have a TikTok?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, wow, I just can't believe it because, first of all, it's super engaging. If you got a 2-hour flight right now, you're flying to New York or somewhere, and you got on the plane with it, and you just looked at your TikTok, you're landing before you know it because whatever you want to watch, it's there. You want to watch cooking videos, you want to watch what kind of recipes can I put in my air fryer? Boom. But the second thing is, if you got a story to tell, and you got a business or path and purpose or something you want to talk about, oh my God, it is just the best huge it's an enormous microphone to the universe that people are not using. It's like, oh, here's this microphone. You can broadcast your content to the universe. You're like, no, I don't really know how it works.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah,
And
it's like people in the olden days used to like have to pay for like a sign on the highway to express themselves or whatever, right? Now you can like pick up your phone and do it at any time and hit millions of people.
Gary Vee, who I talk about a lot too, I don't know if you know who Gary Vee is, the big entrepreneur. So he always talks about like right now, in the world we live in today, all these social media platforms are free. He's like, if you're not taking advantage of all these platforms right now, what are you doing? Like they're there. They're there and they're free. And you can just put your content out there. It's a remarkable opportunity. And I know you and I know these topics, you're going to enjoy talking about them. You're going to enjoy, this is not going to be a chore. You're going to, like what we're doing right now, I'm enjoying this conversation.
Me too.
We happen to be putting on a podcast, but this is something you and I could be doing over coffee. And I think you've got so much to talk about. And you've got such a powerful, inspirational message that you need to share. And I think that once you start doing it and sharing it, and I'm looping back in now with where we started this conversation, you're going to notice your vibe being elevated just on a day-to-day basis. Because you're putting this content out there, you're going to wake up, you're going to be walking through life just feeling better. You're going to have a more elevated state because you're like, wow, I just love I'm putting all this stuff out there. That's how I feel now.
It's so true. Just like these little conversations, the one we had last week and then now, I feel so good during them. Why can't I recreate that for myself every day on TikTok?
Yes.
I can, right?
Yes.
I can manufacture this for myself on a daily, multiple times a day if I want, right? Like, why wouldn't I do that? Yeah. It makes me feel so good to say it out loud. So yeah, this is resonating so much. And I feel like this is exactly what I needed to hear. And again, thank you, universe, because I feel like I had such a beautiful morning. I did my little gratitude walk and I said, this conversation is going to be amazing. He's going to tell me something that's really going to like spark something in me, and voila.
You've been kind of hidden in plain sight there. Monica Burkoth I know you because, we've talked all the time. You need to basically share the authentic Monica Burkoth with the universe. You need to let other people experience all the great messages you have and tell your story. You're gonna blow up. There's no doubt in my mind. Let me tell you one other thing before we go. So hungry for justice. This is what I talked about. I have been talking about this for years. Okay, and I'll go back. I'll go back 3 years ago. I was at CrimeCon. CrimeCon's a true crime conference. I am in Las Vegas. And this is another whole story. I meet through creating an opportunity, a guy who's a producer for Dateline NBC. Okay. His name was Shane Bishop. And he's been with Dateline for like 20 years. He's a big shot. He's like, big deal at NBC with Dateline. And we're kind of shooting the breeze. And I brought this up because I love it, but it was more kind of like, like, not a joke, but I'm like, yeah, I really got what I want to do is I love true crime and I love food. I would love to create a show where combine like Dateline with diners, drive-ins, and dives. So if I'm going to talk about, the Casey Anthony case or the Idaho murders, I could do it right here in my office. but would it be more fun if I did it at like, Mel's Barbecue or Johnny's Diner or, Ray's Drive-In?
It reminds me of like comics in cars or whatever that sign.
Comedians in cars getting coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh my God, this is a great idea. He goes, I'll give you a title for it. You should call it Hungry for Justice. Okay. That's where Shane Bishop gets the credit for that.
Really good.
So he actually pitched it to NBC. And they were like, well, it's a little weird. I don't know, like food and how are you going to talk about food and crime? I've brought about it with some other people. I've talked about it with some other people. And, a lot of people like, oh, I love food. I love true crime. But I do get a lot of a vibe of, how do you really talk about the two together? And this is a Gary Vee inspiration. It's like, I'm not waiting for other people's permission. I don't need somebody's validation that the idea is good enough. The idea makes sense. I don't care. This is another Rick Rubin thing. The audience comes last. He's like, the purest form of your art is what feels good to you. The concept of hungry for justice feels good to me. I love it. I like it. So I recorded the first 4 episodes. I'm going to drop them every Monday and Wednesday on YouTube. The first one came out yesterday. I did it at Superdog. You know where that's at on Milwaukee Avenue.
My house. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm talking about a case in rural Texas where a friend of mine's brother got murdered. And it's called Murder in Rains County, Texas. And I dropped episode 1. There's going to be 4 chapters to that. And I'm just putting it out there. And you know what? It feels good to me. I had so much fun recording it. And I could care less right now what anybody thinks. I don't care if somebody thought, well, that's a stupid idea. It's like, it feels good to me. All I can tell you is it feels good to me. And my motivation to you is, so I just started. I created it and I put it out there. So I've been doing all the talking here. I feel like I've just been blabbing here. Let me just turn the mic over to you to respond to anything I've said during this babble session.
This concept of being worried about what other people might think or whatever, I think it reflects your internal world. And the fact that you're like, I don't care. It makes me happy and it's something that I'm interested in. That means you're lining yourself up for success. Because to me, what that means is your internal world is self-worth, it's self-love, it's internal validation, it's not seeking anyone's approval. And that is when you're the most magnetic. So I feel like this, Andy, is going to freaking blow up. Hands down. It's got me thinking, like, the fact that I'm worried about just talking about manifestation. I feel like I've been wanting to talk about manifestation, but I've been wrapping it up in personal development.
Yeah.
To make it seem a little more.
I'm not really talking about manifestation. I've got a little gift wrap on it.
More palatable for the black and white people, and I don't mean that by race. I mean that by the lawyers, the way that we think. It's not gray. It's always like this or that, right? And I feel like when it's in the mindset, personal development, people are like, okay, yeah, I understand that. Like, I can see that. I see, sports people do that. But when you talk about just manifestation, that really is more spiritual. And that feels like a little bit unsafe still for me. And I think that starting today, I'm going to start talking about just manifestation on YouTube. And on TikTok, and
go for it.
I think I've needed some sort of a sign to just do it. And I think this is it.
All this happened for a reason.
Always, yeah.
When I wanted to record this episode, because I wanted to talk about my audacious goals of winning an Oscar and having Timothée Chalamet play Chester Weger. All right. But I thought, who can I talk about this with and ask them their audacious goals? And I had really nobody that I thought would get this and be able to match my energy on this. And I thought it's got to be Monica. And I'm so glad you could do this, because you are the person I said, I've got to have this conversation with Monica. She will understand what I'm saying. And I know she's going to give it back to me something big as well.
Well, I'm so grateful, Andy, because I feel like you following your intuition led me to kind of having a bit of an aha moment myself. So see, yes. Everything is as it should be. So
and let me tell you one last thing about Hungry for Justice. So Rick Rubin, I also get a lot of his TikTok videos. This guy is, was such a successful music producer, work with all different genres. and he's now like this Zen master. He's just incredible. He said, if you don't do your idea, if you got a great idea, and you don't act on it, it's not like somebody stole your idea. That idea is ready. That idea is ready, to be released into the universe. And if you kind of just aren't ready to go with it, somebody else will.
It'll find someone else. Yeah.
It'll find someone else. So I thought about Hungry for Justice. I thought, God damn it. If I keep talking about this for another 3 years, I'm going to wake up one day and say, holy shit, there's a Netflix show about food and true crime. Damn it, that was my idea. And I've been talking about that for years. And that is actually my third audacious goal. I want Hungry for Justice to be on Netflix, where I have a huge budget. I'm traveling across the country. I'm going down Route 66. And I'm talking about true crime cases. And I'm also having amazing food in amazing places.
What if you're visiting the areas where the crimes occurred, or different milestones, or monuments, and then eating along the way of the crime?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's so much potential with this. And so I just feel this so strongly. And I know that when you start releasing this content, you're going to feel like, I can tell right now, I can feel your energy across the Zoom. Like, you got a smile on your face. If anybody watching this on YouTube, you are radiating now. Like, I can tell it's clicking with you.
Well, I'm like, can we get off so I can go record something?
Yeah. And I'll send you a couple texts with just some people that pop up on my feed as examples. And you're going to be like, I can do this.
Well, I think the thing is I follow a bunch of these people, and I think, immediately my brain goes scarcity, like, which is something that is just so ingrained from law school, but like, well, there's already somebody doing this, and that means that there's not enough room for me. But that's so wrong, because no one can do it like me, right? Because I am so unique and so different.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're all saying the same thing, but we're all saying it in different ways.
You gotta, whenever you gotta release that thought and just let that go, because it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like there can only be so many people talking about this. Everybody's got an authentic voice. I mean, it's the same thing with music. Everything's pretty much a sample of something else, but everybody has their own kind of version of it, Everything. And so all the people talking about manifestation and vibration and energy, everybody's got their unique voice with it, and their unique way to tell it. And you have your unique voice, and you also have what really separates you is you've got this incredible professional success. It's not a negative against somebody who doesn't, but I just think it just like, you've got this impressive resume of who you are. But when you start combining that with all this manifestation, spirituality, vibration, radiate, I just think there's so many people, they're going to benefit from what you have to say. And then when you develop that audience, and then what you should do at some point when you start rocking and rolling a little bit, say, hey guys, you know what I'm thinking about doing? I'm thinking about releasing a book called Universal Law School. And I'm just going to put that out there. I'm going to start talking about it. I'm going to start outlining it. And this is my journey. And because you're now talking about it, that's going to spark more downloads, more ideas of what the book should be about. You might get people commenting. I'm telling you, there's like a whole untapped world for you. I don't think you realize, I had this conversation with Kelly and Allison too on their podcast. I don't think you realize like how much higher you can go. Like you can elevate so many levels up. That's why I want you to dream big. I want you to set those goals audacious and high and put it out there. Will you do that?
1,000,000%. Thank you so much, Andy. One thing that I had to share is I had a guest on my podcast last year. Her name was Stephanie Keith. She has a huge following called Law of Attraction Tribe.
Yeah.
She said she just started posting too, and it blew up. And she was approached to write a book from TikTok.
Wow.
Somebody approached her and was like, will you write this book? And she's like, I had been manifesting writing a book, but I've been hemming and hawing. And somebody said, will you write this book for us? And they paid her in advance to write it and stuff. So I'm like, I'm manifesting Penguin, Simon & Schuster, whatever, coming to me.
And I think the way it starts is you have to start talking about it. Mm-hmm. You have to start sharing it. You have to start putting it out there. So this Timothée Chalamet thing, when I released this video, I felt this ripple of energy, like at the speed of light, coming out of my body traveling across the country to Los Angeles, Timothy Chalamet sitting in a little coffee shop on Melrose having his cappuccino and being like, and he gets
inhale.
He's like, what is this? And it's just been so much fun to talk about, and I feel it. I'm excited about the opportunity, and it makes so much sense to me. So yeah, let's just put it out there.
Next time we should do, because they say a big thing about manifesting is to start acting like it's already happened, right? We should do a podcast episode where we talk about like right after you won the Oscar, like that feeling and what you did and what you wore and who you shook hands with and who you sat by and oh my God, all the people that were screaming your name, and just kind of do one that's just dedicated to like the feeling and the excitement after it's already happened.
I love it. I was listening to some music yesterday, and music can be so inspirational for me. And I was visualizing calling my name, and the working title for this is called Chester and Me. So it's kind of like about my relationship with Chester Weger. And my son has worked on it too with me. He's helped film it, and he went to film school, and he did a 2-year screenwriting program at UCLA. Him and I stand up, hug, and walk up to the stage, and we got our Oscars. And I saw that picture, and I saw one of Timothy Chalamet winning his Oscar, and I got my arms around him, and I got my Oscar. And I visualized seeing that. Like, it seemed real to me.
It's going to happen. I think the more you do that, the more real it feels, the more normal it feels in your body. Then it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we connected here. This is also inspirational for me because it motivates me to just keep putting things out there. And for you, I can't wait to, kind of circle back with you, maybe like towards the summer, maybe the end of the summer, and we'll see where you're at, and I think if you put out your TikToks, and here's the key, everything I release, I feel good about. I release it with like love and passion and energy. This Timothy Chalamet video, I just felt so good about it. It wasn't like I did it like awkwardly and, it was stressful. It was so much fucking fun to make that video. And I felt like, you know what, Timothy, you and I are going to connect. I don't know how the universe is going to do it, but if you put your content out there and with a positivity and
not
an
with
energy,
the energy of, I should post once a day.
No.
Today. It's like, I can't get this off my chest fast enough.
Exactly. When you post, like, guys, here's what I got to tell you. I just been urging. I have to get this off my chest. When you post with, like, you're really excited to share something and people feel your energy when they watch that video, that's when it's contagious, right? That's when it really resonates with people, that authenticity and that passion. The way you have it now, the look on your face. Anybody listening to this podcast on a podcast platform, I encourage you to also go to my Andy Hale Podcast YouTube page and watch this, because I've seen your vibe as I've talked about these things, and right now you're radiating. Mm-mm. You are just radiating off the energy, and it's contagious. So, to be continued, Monica Burkoth. Always amazing to see you. To be continued.
Thank you for the pep talk and the love, Andy.
Absolutely.